because you
Show
didn't have the
time.
good sense to go, I don't want that fucking thing, and get rid of it.
Yep. All right, Danny, what you got, Danny? Come on.
So a couple things. Couple things, Eddie. Regulation Z, the Highway Safety Act, 1956. I've been hearing from a lot of the old compadres. I have yet to see it myself,
Is
but
this a state or federal regulation?
Federal Regulation Z. Do you know anything about it? I don't want to hang on the subject.
I've never heard of a Regulation Z.
It made
I've
us,
heard of
it
And
made
Title
us a federal-
Highway
49.
Highway Safety Act of was it 49 or 56?
1956, and it
No,
made us,
that's
that
the
was,
year. The code is Title 49
Oh,
United States Code, or Title 49 of the CFR, which is the
Copy.
Code of Federal Regulations.
Okay, so then moving on, because I'm not going to be able to tie the two together here. So when it comes to probable cause, what I was trying to ask in the writing part was I was just trying to ask, what are some of the other things they do that that then disrespect the probable cause they would need to do anything? Like they try to walk in your car. That's like, yeah, no probable cause because you didn't give notice of something. Or what are other things that are outside of their good probable cause that put them in breach
Okay,
of
well, again, we discussed the case of Mims v. State and what elements must exist for the officer to have probable cause to remove you from the car.
elements. Good word. There's the word. What other elements of probable cause, just generally at the highway, at the traffic stop level, by the
Well,
cop?
the elements of probable cause are always the same. Facts or evidence that make a reasonable person believe an actual crime has been committed, is about to be committed, or has been committed. That's probable cause in a nutshell.
Oh, elements. That makes almost everything they do without probable cause.
No.
Or lots of things.
Facts.
Lots of
No,
things.
no.
That's what I'm saying.
Each
Yeah.
individual crime has elements of its own. So before the officer can meet the elements of probable cause to make an arrest for that crime, the officer must have enough elements to satisfy the belief that there actually was a crime.
Correct.
So it's a
Correct.
stepping process. Okay,
Right.
what's the crime? Because each crime has a different set of elements as the criteria for committing
It's the same thing as most of the people here. I'm in court over, and by the way, they never got back to me, so I might not be in court anymore. I got to call them on Monday.
Again, if you
But
read the
over driver's
document,
license.
if
Just
you read
driver's
the
license.
document that I originally shared, the first document I put up at the very top of the chat, the Word document, you will see that I specifically go into the issue with probable cause on a traffic stop. And I explain why there's a big problem with probable cause in relation to traffic. Okay.
Copy that. I think, is that your script, Eddie? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
Oh.
it's the very first document at the very top of the chat. It's the
I don't see
document.
the document up here. Oh, a few more messages. Never mind.
It's the one that says TOL training.
Copy that, bro. Copy that. I'm sure. I just got to keep going up. It says a few more messages. So then I was just looking for, like, if you had tidbits and stuff. It's like, oh, when they say this, there's no probable cause for that. When they try to do this, chances are they don't have probable cause. But you answered enough.
He has to cite specific facts that lead to probable cause, and those facts are things that identify a specific crime. Okay.
Exactly.
No crime means no probable cause. See, that's where reasonable articulable suspicion must become articulable fact. Articulable fact is what creates probable cause, not reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion is the basis for investigating the information needed to create and establish the reasonable facts.
I agree with this. This is great. What we really need to understand is the necessary elements of probable cause that when they first pull you over, they have probable cause, maybe a little bit. Do they have probable cause?
That, like I said, is in the document.
Further?
The document goes into that specifically.
Right. I'm still looking for this document. If I can't find it, I'm not going to bug you for it. Last thing, if you know what you already addressed, that the passport is probably not the right thing to do, but you've been in law enforcement. Do you know anything about the dang stars and sort of the 4 stars, 5 stars, 3 stars? Does
Well,
it
I know
matter?
we have constellations, suns or stars. I
Besides
know
that.
that there's Hollywood stars. I know there's
Yep.
stars on the sidewalk in Hollywood. I know that I see stars if I bump my head. What the fuck do stars have to do with any of this shit? The most retarded shit I've ever heard is shit like that when people bring it up. You're muted, Daniel. I can't hear a word you've been saying.
Oh, let me see. Let me see. But yeah, I feel the same way, man. I don't think any of that has any applicability unless you're again
I
falling under
agree.
their jurisdiction to be justified in that. Maybe within I think of it like this. So you got us already high up at the very top. Then you got the government down here, right? And then everything subsidiaries. But what you got to think is if you're getting that 5 stars, that still puts you whatever you want to do in your own magical mind that you're thinking that 5
Right.
stars is still within that realm that's under us in the first place. Why are you subjecting yourself to this lower realm of existence? Why do you need to be the highest thing in that realm of existence? Why not just be above here and know it? That's what I don't get. Why are you trying to be the puppet, the arm
Why
of
are
the
you
puppet?
bringing up shit that's going to make you sound delusional and thus ruin your credibility in any and every way you can imagine?
I agree. I totally agree. I'm with that. I just figured I'd ask because you've been law enforcement. Maybe there was something to it. I didn't know. I asked, you answered. We're good.
Well, what I know about law enforcement and stars is that generally we wear one on our chest
Yep.
or a shield or something of that emblematic.
My
Now,
most interesting thing I want to know was this probable cause, and I got my question answered finally. Understand the aspects, and probable cause is layered like an onion. Probable cause to stop you, maybe. Probable cause to go any further and get in your car, probably not so much. Probable cause to arrest you, probably not so much.
treat probable cause like an avocado.
Right.
There's
Okay.
the skin, there's the meat, there's the pit. The pit and only the pit is where probable cause is. Everything outside of that pit is what leads to probable cause, but does not itself become
Yeah.
or in any way create the probable cause at the center.
Love it, dude. That makes it easier. It's like, whoa, 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 Jack. I see why you stopped me. So I answered your questions and I told you my stuff. Now you're out of probable cause. I get it. I'll
Probable
have
cause either exists because of known facts or it does not.
Ralph, you had your hand up for a while. Come on up, brother.
Yeah, going back to when Eddie was talking about private property, when you purchase a vehicle and all of that. When they pull you over, doesn't that fall under the takings of private property clause?
Did they take your car?
No, they've never taken my car.
Then
I've
how's it
been
a
pretty
taking?
successful.
How have they deprived you of the use of your property and seized it for their own use and converted it to their use? Because that's what a
I've had
taking is.
several. I've had several friends that, because they had private plates on their vehicles, they were impounded and taken. And we ended up getting them released by sending the tow company a true bill. So, uh, but when they take your vehicle,
But why? But my question is why can't you just sue the tow company and the officer? In that case, they have taken the property.
exactly,
They have converted it to a
exactly,
private use for the accumulation of gain, profit or gain. Now you have an
yeah,
illegal taking when there was no authority in law to take it. Okay.
exactly. That's
So
what we're in the process of doing right now.
yeah,
I
so
was
that's a
just
lawsuit.
when you were talking about when you have the right to purchase a vehicle and this and that, and and now it's in the private, and when they take your property without due process, without a warrant, you know then that's where we're at on I'm helping a few people on their cases, and so far we've gotten their vehicles out of impound, but now we're still dealing with
Well,
the
now
bull
just
crap
be careful
of the
when you go
courts.
into the takings argument because uh, in order to make that type of takings claim, you have to make a conversion claim. And in some states, such as Texas, conversion is considered a form of fraud. So you have to make a claim of fraud, not conversion.
Okay, I'll have to look into that for out here in California.
I think California still has them as two separate things, but verify. Always
Yeah.
verify. I admonish everyone that's been on this conversation, do not, absolutely do not take my word about any fucking thing. I am not your priest, your rabbi, or your fucking savior. If you want to know whether or
Yeah.
not I'm telling the truth, do your own research and verification of the information I've provided.
Well, that's the only way to truly know, anyways.
Yeah,
And then
I
just
neither
apply.
expect nor desire for anyone to simply take me at my word and go from there.
Yeah.
That's how you people wound up in this fucking mess, following trust, stars, and goddamn state national recognition
Well,
to get where you are.
Well, I'll tell you this: a lot of the people that has been coming on, because I just wrote my own book and I released it last month, and I've been having all these experiences that I've been recording over the past 9 years, and I finally just have been releasing them. I wasn't releasing them over the years. I just finally am releasing everything, and it's been pretty cool because we ain't got a lot of trolls, Eddie, and I've never been arrested over these 9 years with traveler plates on. I've conducted myself fairly well in all of these interactions where I've never been arrested.
Well, based upon the couple of your videos that I've seen, the way you go about it is probably the reason you haven't gone away in cuffs. Okay. This is what I keep trying to make people understand about your attitude and actions from the very beginning affect the outcome, whether you want to realize that or not. There is absolutely nothing you can do about the cop who's having a bad day and is hell bent on taking it out on you. But the worst thing you can do is give him something he can claim as a valid reason for doing it. That okay. The more calm, cool, collected, and reserved you make yourself be, the better it all plays out for you in the end.
Yeah, I think so. All right, who we got? Shamar, you gonna unmute?
Yeah, real quick. Just to clarify my why I was even wondering so much about trust. I learned a lot about chancery courts and saw them as another avenue to go through appeals. And there's just a lot of history of, especially you mentioned within the due process of the amendments. I thought that had relevance together. I would love to hear your thoughts on like exclusive equity.
Let me ask you this. If you go through the rules of procedure for the type of case you have, civil or criminal, and you go through either the civil rules of procedure or the criminal rules of procedure, and remember that the criminal rules of procedure are derived from the civil rules themselves, and thus where the criminal rules don't speak to something, the civil rules do apply. Okay. But where they do speak to something, they are the sole authority on how it applies. Where in any part of those procedural rules do you find any discussion or step dealing with a trust?
Facts.
I wouldn't know exactly, but
Well, that's because you wouldn't have it at all.
At all.
It's not there.
It's not
unless the legal issue itself involves a trust. A trust never enters the procedure or the discussion in any freaking way, shape, or form, ever. No.
I guess that's where the inquiry is, because I think what I was learning about exclusive equity is you're supposed to tender special deposit to make it involve a trust. But even where my my inquiries is like, if there's like a fiduciary responsibility of anybody who, like an officer who arrests you, where like imagine you didn't know this information, but there's still like a fiduciary responsibility, right, in him arresting you, which
but a fiduciary responsibility to abide by the law is not the same thing as a fiduciary responsibility relating to a financial instrument. They are not one and the same. They are very different types of fiduciary responsibility and duties. They are not synonymous at all.
I thought they were connected through the surety bond that that's why you're there.
The surety bond is the officer's guarantee that he will perform his duty correctly, and that when he doesn't, he is financially liable for his failure to do so. That's what the surety bond is.
Yeah, and it's very simple. It's nothing more than that.
That is all that the surety bond is. Let me give you another example. I have learned that there is a correct way and a more delicious way to make a grilled cheese sandwich.
Okay.
I have learned there's a proper way to pick up and dispose of dog shit.
Okay.
I have
How's
learned
that?
that there is a proper way to put your pants on and zip up your fly and not cut your dick in the process. Now tell me where in the rules of civil or criminal procedure any of those things that I have learned matter one fucking bit.
Well, I mean, if I'm trying to win the prize, the $1 million prize, you did say it only matters when a trust is involved, Artie.
Exactly. So in relation to all the things I just mentioned, grilled cheese, cut dicks, and all that other shit, that would only apply if that's what the case itself was directed toward, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm suing you for making and selling me a shitty grilled cheese sandwich. Okay. I'm suing you because even though I lack arms, when you helped me pull up my fly in the restroom, you caught my dick in it and cut half of it off. Okay. That's when those things I learned are an issue. Otherwise, they're fucking irrelevant.
Yeah. Miguel, come on up, brother. You've been waiting for a minute.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Craig? So my issue is kind of all new to me. I got charged for on suspended. Unlike everyone here, seems like everyone already rescinded or invalidated their license. I'm on suspended. Now, can I do on my right to travel? Can I actually exert? Can I go on with this, or do I need to invalidate a license?
You can't invalidate a suspended license. It's invalid by definition.
Right.
Okay. The question once again is, can they prove that you were using the suspended license to engage in the regulable activity to which it applies?
No.
The nexus. Always the nexus. You remember that regulatory hand grenade I told you about a minute ago?
Right.
They're going to throw you a hand grenade that basically is saying, here's the grenade we're going to blow up in your face. You operated a motor vehicle while having a suspended license. That's the regulatory hand grenade in a nutshell. How do you get rid of it?
Throw that shit away.
Which you do how?
Rebutting the presumption.
Acquiescence
Bingo.
don't, yeah.
Everything I just said is a legal presumption that they're getting from the statutes. Your rebuttal.
So just
and
leave the
method of
burden of
throwing-
proof on the court, huh? Just if they could prove
Well, the question is what is your evidence that I was engaged in an activity that license applied to and thus acted in violation of the suspension? Okay. You were operating a motor vehicle. What is your proof of that? Well, the officer pulled you over and you were behind the wheel. The wheel of what? A motor vehicle. What is your proof of that? You're saying my car is automatically a motor vehicle simply because it looks and sounds and works in similar fashion. That does not legally make it a motor vehicle. It becomes a motor vehicle only when the regulatory statutes apply because I'm using it for the purpose being regulated by those statutes.
Exactly.
What is your evidence I was doing so?
Use alone defines the intent. So what
Yes,
it is.
it is the use that creates the presumption, not the thing itself.
Ty, do you have some questions? Azultine?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions, but I'm
Well,
really
wait a minute. You started that off pretty strong. You said you got a lot of questions.
I'm only going to ask one.
Okay, no, you can ask a couple. Come on now.
Okay. And the reason I'm only going to ask one is because I think I might get some of my questions answered with that one question. And that question is, I'm unable to access the docs. When I click on docs, a window opens up and it starts loading and it shows the docs are there, but then it immediately bleeps out and I can't access them. Is there some way I can get the docs that are being presented here?
Oh yeah, I can probably bring them into a quick PDF format and then throw them back in here for y'all. Everything that's in here if it's in a doc, and yeah, you can have it in a quick PDF.
Excellent. Thank you.
What about Rad Seed Co? Did you have something you wanted to ask? And look, I'm opening up. I'm gonna open up
Yeah.
everybody to unmute themselves on their own now. I'm tired of controlling y'all. So
Yeah,
this
just guys,
is tiring,
please make
bro.
sure you don't have anything going on in the background that's going to make it very hard to hear and understand what's
That
being
and the
asked.
aspect that you also got to be somewhat cool because I would like other people to listen to this on YouTube. So don't get out of line too much. All right.
Right on. All right. Appreciate your time, sir. This is the first time really hearing anything about you or from you, and it's pretty strong evidence of your knowledge, and it's pretty great to hear. I think a lot of us
Or that
here.
I'm just an asshole, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
That
I'm
too.
used to
That
being
too.
around that, so I don't get offended too easily. So, but I feel like a lot of us in here have been following certain gurus and going over these certain things, and obviously, you're correct that a lot of us have not gone in depth and gone and researched for ourselves. So, a couple questions would be on that. Well, one is I got pulled over for a speeding ticket, and given a speeding
In what
ticket,
state?
Oklahoma.
Okay. And what does this Oklahoma speeding statute say is required in order to be accused or to prove speeding?
I don't know. I need to look that up. There's a lot of information. Just being in here is totally
Wrong answer. I've got a criminal charge. Well, how are you going to defend against it? I don't know. Why? Because I've never read it.
Yeah. So this whole thing has put me to be doing a lot of research when we get off of this. So,
and by the way, guys, I apologize for being loud. I did a play in the second grade, and my teacher stood at the back of the auditorium and said, I need you to enunciate and project. And I ain't never been able to turn that shit off since. And I'm used to talking to people in large auditoriums and rooms without a microphone. So please don't think I'm screaming at people just to be screaming at people. I talk this way in person all the time. It's never any different. And Teresa can tell you that from class.
Well, I'll tell you, being any louder than me, I'll be screaming. So they used to it.
Yeah, it gets wild, but it's all fine and dandy. It's just it's a lot of knowledge for me to go and do some research on, so I can defend myself. So I completely get it, and I'm glad to have been here to learn that.
Well, what's pretty cool too is that what I've done with everything, at least on our side with Operation Wisdom, We the People channel, Power Inherent the People had, just like Craig has done, is over these years, man, we've just put all of our experience out there so that you can kind of go through it. I talk about go through those experiences, whether through it's the Right to Travel course, which is free, or whether you go through the Most Sacred Liberty playlist, which is free. If you just run through those, man, you're gonna get a good. I mean, you can ask anybody can come up and unmute that's gone through that and tell you how beneficial it is just to go through it. And once you get that understanding down, a lot of your questions you're going to formulate for yourself, So, and then find the answers just due to the fact that you got the comprehension and understanding.
If y'all look in the chat, I put a link to my legal blog. I haven't done any articles on it in a while because I've been so busy with all the other stuff I've been having to do since I relocated to Plano from Austin. But I've got a lot of articles I wrote for that blog dealing with a lot of these subjects. Several articles on there, at least 4, I think, deal with the subject of speeding as it relates to Texas law. Now, there used to be an actual motion attached to one of those, but somehow or other, the Google Drive where that document was wound up getting detached, and I can't seem to get it to link back to it, but I'm working on that. But in any case, what you need to learn is how to read the statutes. First and foremost, if you cannot read and understand the statutes, you cannot go to court and fight the statutes.
Well, let's give an example real quick then on that, Eddie. Let's say we get a statute such as motor vehicle, and it says any device driven or any vehicle driven upon the state roads or motor vehicles driven upon the state roads transporting persons or property.
It won't. What it will say is a device that is self-propelled and used to transport or for the transportation of persons or property upon the highway.
And so
that
what happens
generally
is,
be, but that's a definition.
Right.
That definition has to be used in something else. The definition alone cannot be used to make a charge. It has to be part of something else. So you would use motor vehicle as an argument for the operation of a motor vehicle, or speeding in a motor vehicle, or operating a motor vehicle without a proper license, et cetera, et cetera. This goes back to something I was going to bring up earlier, and we wound up in the middle of something else, just so you can understand where I'm coming from on this and why definitions are so freaking important. If you look in Texas law, and I'm sure you will find something similar in other law in other states, if you bother to do the research and take the time to find it. But under Chapter 311 of our government code, there is a set of general definitions that applies to every single statute that's enacted by the state legislature. And that definition is the only definition that matters, unless the statute in question contains a local definition that is then controlling over the general, unless the local statute specifically says where the local definition exists, it gives way to the general definition in this particular instance.
What chapter was that?
Chapter 311 of the Texas Government Code. But in those definitions is the definition of the term state.
Oh, yeah.
When you go read that, you will find out very, very quickly that state does not apply in any way, shape, or form to the geographical boundaries and territory of the state of Texas.
Right.
Okay? So every statute that says that you created a violation of the laws of this state, what definition of state are they relying on? Well, according to our law, they have to be relying on this one, unless there's a local definition that changes it.
Right.
So, one of the arguments I've made in legal documents is prove that I have violated the law of this state as state is defined by Chapter 311 of the Texas Government Code, in that I have no nexus with any federal agency or office as defined as the primary part of the definition of the term state. And that's exactly how state is defined. It's a federal territory, possession, enclave, or office. It is not the territory, any territory of the state of Texas, unless that territory has been ceded to the federal government so as to be part of this fucking definition.
And that's why I love this, because again, what we're doing is we're getting into the rules and principles at the base foundational core. And normally most people aren't getting to that level. They're working on the charge. The charge is being brought against them.
Yeah, but they're
You know what I'm
also
saying?
doing this other bullshit like the trust and the state national.
We don't
and the
do that though.
stars and the bars and
we
the
don't do
foot
that.
up your ass and all this other shit.
But we don't do that, Eddie.
I
None of
didn't
us is
say
doing
you
that.
were doing it. I'm saying that this is where the misinformation and bullshit comes from that misleads people into going down the wrong fucking rabbit trail.
That's
I
kind of
agree.
what my question was going to be about.
Okay.
Okay, so you talking about state nationals and all that other stuff. What process that I learned from was when you look at the DS11 form, it says either a U.S. citizen or a non-citizen national. So I've been running on the non-citizen national part, as well as working with some micronation people who created.
And
the
did you look at the document that I put in here dealing with the state national statutes?
I think I came in late and I can't see that one.
It's okay. What I'll do is if you email me or text me or just scroll up in the chat, you'll see it. It's called, it's a
The chat
TOT
only allows me to
document.
go into when I came in.
Oh, okay. Well, if you put it back in the chat, somebody will redo it right now. I swear they will. We got a lot of people in here. So,
Okay.
but he's put in a video. The YouTube link goes to his channel. I think it's like the most recent video on his channel anyways. And it's got James C. Lovett in the title or in the thumbnail. If you go in right at 2 hours, bro, or a little bit before, like 1:55.
Yeah, the footnote tells you exactly what the time marker is you need to go
Yeah, bro.
to get
Okay.
to that.
Yep, it's nice, bro. And someone please repost that document that he had just shared.
I just
Okay.
put the document in the chat and
And it's the first video. Gotcha.
it's sent.
That right there gonna lock you in, bro. Them 2 hours on, you're gonna be locked in.
Of that bill. And there's the link to the video in question.
Got it. Okay, I got it. It's opened up in the back so I can look at that when we're done here. Perfect.
Now,
But I'm
do I
assuming
think
that does
now,
include, right, non-citizen nationals?
now listen, do I say there's probably some validity to that micronation stuff when you get on that level? I think there might be some validity, possibly. What do you think, Eddie, on that?
Micronation in what context?
The fact, go ahead, Cam, you got it.
No, you go ahead, bro. You got it.
So okay, so you've had some groups of people that have created micronations, like the Nation of the Amnesty Coalition, or the whatever the one is. Basically, that they're creating their own nation. They don't fall under the jurisdictions of the Corporation of the United States, and they basically create passports. They basically do all that stuff.
Yeah, here we call them the Republic of Texas.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And guess what?
What?
Half of them's in jail.
Okay. Well, I don't want to go to jail.
But here's the thing. First off, you can't create a nation in the middle of an already sovereign nation. Can't be done. You can't create a new nation in the middle of a sovereign state. Can't be done. The only way it can be done is if the state or the national form of said state acquiesces and cedes something, some authority or some legal standing or some land for you to do the thing you're attempting to do. Otherwise, you're just creating a bunch of paper that says you're a donkey and you can fly.
Yeah, I think Title 8 has clarification on that, and I think that's why it has been done, because, and I can't quote it.
Again, Title 8 has clarification for whatever the fuck it is Title 8 applies to. And I guarantee you, whoever's reading it and coming up with this shit is not reading it correctly, does not understand it, and doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, which was exactly the problem with the statutes involving the state nationals.
But again, listen, this is my thing. The foundational core of it is, are you free, and do you need documents to be free and establish that? That's the basis of it all. I feel like, again, we get into these weeds
of you don't, but that's a separate question than whether or not you're arguing against some legal allegation or standing. Those are very different things. You can be free and still have a legal obligation to someone. You can be free and still have a legal duty not to harm others.
Correct.
Everything about a society comes down to the rights you have and the ability to exercise them in ways that do not harm the person, rights, or property of another.
Correct.
That is the very definition of the social contract. And no man is exempt from the social contract unless he is the sole living body on an entire fucking planet all his own. And there is no such place or person in existence to my knowledge.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Something that struck in that video that you shared too was the aspect that, you know, everybody wants to talk about common law, but in all actuality, that common law, especially the statute aspects, when it comes to actual crime, is just codified common law.
Well, that's what the penal code is. Every state's penal code is a codification of the common law. If you look in there, every crime it lists, with very few exceptions, such as hate crimes, are the common law crimes of old: murder, fraud, assault, theft, burglary, kidnapping, extortion. Those are all common law crimes. And that's what the penal codes codified. Why was it necessary to codify them? Because the common law was originally determined and created as judge-made law. And every judge could write an opinion and a judgment a different way, which meant there was no specific standard by which the criteria of the law could be known. Did I violate it or did I not violate it? Well, in this jurisdiction you did, and in that jurisdiction you didn't.
But thus here, while I interject, that's why most of the laws upon all of the states are very uniform in their application anyway.
Right, because
there was cause confusion between being in one state versus another.
There was an effort to create what's called a model statute upon which the states would model all of their laws for that particular thing. Now, they don't have to be verbatim and they don't have to be 100%, but they should have the same general basis and principles for charging and committing the crime. Okay. The problem, as I see it, is the way it's been done runs afoul of a specific clause of the federal Constitution that requires the laws of the several states to be uniform throughout, which means they must be the same in relation to the same subject.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Now, I've had lots of so-called legal scholars and lawyers laugh at me and go, that's not what that means. Well, that's what the fuck it says. So where the hell are you getting an interpretation that says that's not what it means? Well, the courts ruled. Oh, wait a minute. You mean the courts created an interpretation that is itself inconsistent with the very language of the document they're interpreting? Well, that's a big fat fucking surprise.
Yep. And that's our loophole to get through on it.
Okay,
So-
that's the whole premise of my lawsuit against the judges and prosecutors that I'm writing now, is that they've created case law that says A, but A is in direct violation of the higher authority that they're arguing about and writing an opinion on. What they're saying is absolutely at odds with the language of the text, and that's a problem.
Yep. Well, they'll keep enforcing it until you invoke otherwise.
Yeah, till you challenge it, it will stand.
So all these people who have notified their states and their governors and stuff about them being either American state national or non-citizen national or ambassador for the Nation Amnesty Coalition.
Well, let me answer that real quick and succinct, because I know where all the list you're going down and where it's going to go. So let me answer that
I'm
really
also
quick
gonna
and really simply.
Okay, answer it quick and simple, but I'm also going to put in one phrase, tacit acquiescence.
If these individuals signed and filed a document with the government stating any of these things are true when they are not, then they have falsified what is now a government record. See, that's something else people don't seem to understand.
What do you mean by
I
filing?
didn't falsify a government record. Dude, the moment you created a document, put words on the motherfucking thing and signed your name and filed it with the federal government claiming, or any other level of government, claiming that what you stated in that document is true, it became a government record. And if it is now not true, it's falsification of a government record. And there's a criminal penalty associated with that.
What do you mean by filing though? Or you have to record it? Is that what you mean? Or just like if I sent something to the governor himself, say, hey, I'm a free man, yada, yada, yada.
And you sign it as an affidavit under penalty of perjury, and it turns out that you're not a free man, then you falsified a government document, didn't you?
Well, I mean,
Well, I mean,
I'm
what?
just trying to be
Either
clarified
you
on the-
did or you didn't file the document under penalty of perjury.
well, I
And
didn't-
either what's in it is
that.
true or it's not.
Okay.
Those are your parameters. If either one of those parameters is not true, then you falsified the document. There
My
are no
understanding that I'm
ifs,
not an
ands,
employee.
buts, or gray areas about that.
Right. No, no. And I'm trying to get clarification so I know where I am in this position. Like I never
Well,
obviously I
where
didn't
you
say-
are is out of position, because that is not going to solve your problem, and it is only going to create more.
Okay. So can I rescind the document?
Well, as we talked about earlier about government documents, the only way you can rescind a document that you signed under penalty of perjury and not be penalized for the perjury is to prove that the document was signed under fraud by the other party, not by you.
Are you saying that anything signed with your name is being signed under penalty of perjury?
If you're filing it as a fact to the government, it absolutely is.
And didn't you speak on this? I remember you speaking on this in that last video we've been talking about in relation to every document that you file becomes a government document because they keep it on record.
Now, the question becomes is, do they try to prove that it was made under penalty of perjury? In certain cases, it's automatically made under penalty of perjury. Okay.
Well,
In
would
others,
force
it's
them to even
not.
wanna-
So the question is whether or not what you're doing requires that whatever you're submitting be presumed to be made under penalty of perjury. If that presumption exists, then it is there and it will be used against you if it's false.
What would they use it? What would be the reason that they would want to charge me with something?
Well, because you falsified a document you filed with the government.
Yeah, due to a misunderstanding and misapplication in the first place, due to a wrongful interpretation. Most definitely.
But that's your fault if it's a wrongful interpretation, not theirs.
Of course,
Unless they're the ones that gave you the interpretation and said, this is what you must comply with. Then they're committing the fraud. But if it's all on you to determine what you wrote and what you signed and you filed it, that's your fraud. That's not theirs.
And that's why I say it's important to always, if you're going to file something with some state department or anybody, ask some questions first. They're going to respond to you, y'all. They're going to respond.
Well, let me put it this way. Under the original auspices of our form of government and the Constitution itself, what interaction did the common man have with the federal government?
Criminal cases?
Unless you were operating in violation of one of the specific crimes the federal government's empowered to prosecute, such as counterfeiting or violation of immigration laws, which, by the way, the Constitution says absolutely nothing about immigration. Okay? Says nothing about it whatsoever. But the other thing it does, counterfeiting, because that's a power and authority given solely and exclusively to the federal government to print and coin money. Okay, that's it. Anybody else doing it is counterfeiting. That's a crime under federal law. That's a legitimate crime under federal law. Okay, but lots of other things that they've criminalized at the federal level, such as the growing of marijuana, is not within the purview of the federal government to criminalize at any level because it's not part of the 18 enumerated powers. Now, they might try to say it's under the general welfare clause, but the argument could very easily be made that that's an overbroad interpretation of the general welfare clause, just like so many of the other things they invaded and have no right to, but your state government allowed them to get away with by the taking of federal funds to grant them the power. So here's what I suggest to you folks that want to way out from under all this shit. And I'm telling you now, it ain't the State National and the trust and the other document filing bullshit that's going to get it done. It is this and this alone. Control your local fucking government. Period. Do not allow your local government to become a sellout to your rights to a higher level of government. Your local government should not acquiesce. Hang on, let me finish my thought.
Okay.
The local government should not be acquiescing to the state government where the state government has no legitimate authority to do something that it's trying to do, period. The local government should be saying that ain't going to fucking happen here. Not going to happen. And you have no legitimate authority to make it happen, period. And they challenge it. Same thing about the level up from there. Your county government, same deal. Then from your county government to your district, from your district to your state, from your state to your Senate, to the state to the Congress, and so on and so forth. Okay? The Senate and the House of Representatives. You start from the ground up. You set the record straight and you keep it fucking straight. You do not let the feds bribe your local government to give them powers they're not entitled to under the federal Constitution for the sake of fucking funding.
But if they're corporations and not government, doesn't that play a part?
No.
Okay.
Okay. You need to understand the difference between a public corporation and a private or publicly traded corporation. They are very, very different things.
Now, I've gotten something pretty cool for these cops to do. I'm going to give a little bit of my experience on this one. So I was just sitting on the side of the road. Cops come. They're bothering me. I say, leave me alone. They bring in the sergeant. Sergeant comes out. He says, we're going to harass y'all. You won't start town. I call, he tries to throw his threats on me. I walk off on his ass. I ain't giving him shit. I call police department. Chief and lieutenant come out. Chief and lieutenant come out. I lace them up on education. But in the meantime, of while they're all talking, one of the female cops is off on the side. I walk up to her and I say, "You learning something today?" Because they're all talking about me now, and I done presented myself very well. She said, "Yeah, I've always been fascinated with sovereign citizens and their idolatry and the ways that they think." And I said, "Well," she asked me about sovereign citizen. I break her down on that, and then I said, "The only time that y'all have power over people is in relation to there being a driver's license, being in effect. It's a contract with the state because your city is a corporation, the state is a corporation." And she said, "No, I get it. You're right. I totally agree." Right? So it's not like a lot of these cops don't know. It's again, I'm just doing my damn job, regardless of whether I know or not. And once you rebut the presumptions that are placed against you with knowing, I don't want to toot my horn here, but like Eddie said, you got to conduct yourself in that manner of knowing and never waive those rights. And when you do, it gets real hard for them to come forth and try and, just railroad you because they know that it's coming, we're coming for their ass, right? There's a different spectrum there of how they deal with us. So
Yeah. If
core being though a corporation, at least in my mind, when you get the officers straight up
All right.
admitting.
I gave you all the link to my legal blog, but there's a link to a specific article on my legal blog called the Dun and Bradstreet Patronut Myth. And that's you're going to learn that there's two phrases I coined: patronut and patrician. Okay.
Okay.
And you will find that they generally apply to the people that come up with these specific types of remedies in theories. Okay.
Okay.
So while they may start off with a coherent thought, they quickly alleviate themselves of any validity and credibility by where they go from there. Okay.
Right.
So read that article on the Dun and Bradstreet myth because it specifically goes to the concept of the government corporations. Okay. And I think you will find that once you read it, you will understand exactly why incorporation by government agencies is necessary. Okay. And it's not because they're for-profit corporations like so many of the publicly traded ones are, and a lot of the private ones are. It's because there is no other way for them to do the business of the people properly and with accountability and trackability of what they're doing.
Right.
Okay. Without that incorporation, there is no single person who can buy, sell, or purchase on behalf of that government entity.
Right.
There is no one who can agree on behalf of that entity to enter into any contract for the creation of roads and streets, the building of government buildings, the providing of government services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way for any government entity to contract without incorporation. Imagine that every contract you have has to be signed by the current mayor. Well, now you've got a whole shitload of contracts that are signed by different mayors that cover an expanse of years. And now the city can't enforce the contracts or get payment for them because that mayor is no longer there, and thus the contract is no longer valid because the parties between whom they apply have dissolved the relationship.
Right. Now, you know what? That makes for an interesting point that I want to bring up real quick. So something that I do just to kind of, I guess, put my foot out there, put my foot in the door to kind of stop or at least try to stop it, put some notice out there, is what I call the notice of liability. What I do is I go up to the sheriffs, I go up to the chiefs, and what I do is I file this notice of liability, and it simply states, look, y'all, I'm going to be out here standing on my constitutional rights. Don't violate them. If you do, the first violation is going to be, for this much amount of fee, administration of a free man is repugnant to his freedom. And we have and I have a conversation directly with the chief to where I get him to recognize on the record in a recording that I have the right to travel. And then I just leave it at that. And most of the times it's been really good, Eddie. I haven't had one rejection, actually. It's been really good interactions every time. Maybe it's just to save face and look good on the department at that moment or not. I've never had a sheriff, a chief, a lieutenant deny my notice of liability. Utilizing this, let's say if there does occur a violation from a police agent, an agent of the agency, right? What is filing that and having that on the record beneficial for later civil litigation in your mind?
Well, of course it would be, because it's a document. The problem is it just a notice? Hey, I gave him this. Well, what proof do you have that you gave him this? Did you video the interaction to show that he received a copy of it? Did he sign for it? Et cetera, et cetera. So how's the document eligible to be admitted as evidence in a court of law case?
Okay,
That's your
so
first
let's say,
question.
okay,
Wait a
well, let me,
minute.
okay,
We're you explain how you want to use it. Now let me explain what you got to do to get there. Now, by the same token, that's a lot of upfront work to get the exact same result you would get by doing what's in the transportation script, providing notice every step of the encounter.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't it exactly the same thing? Officer,
Yeah.
I am standing on the sidewalk exercising my First Amendment right. I am standing on the sidewalk exercising my right to petition my government. I am standing on the sidewalk exercising my right to breathe free air, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you not use the interaction via the same methodology written into the script to provide that same notice?
For sure.
And if you're recording that, like you should be, anytime you're having an encounter with a public official, whether it's expected or not expected, my rule is this: never leave home without a device that records and a backup that does the same thing. And never, ever, ever interact with any kind of public official without recording, ever.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, can
So
I
if you
add something?
if you're doing that, then how are you not doing the exact same thing during the actual encounter?
Now, how I've been utilizing it, just real quick, Terry, I'll get to you, brother, right next. You're coming next, Terry. I got you, brother. Try and write it down if you forget your thought, because I don't want to forget mine. So how I've been utilizing it is I've been going up, recording the interactions, saying I'm going to be filing a notice of liability with you guys. I need you to go ahead and get a copy of this, and then if I want to file it with y'all, and then if you can go back and make a copy. Now, how I've been utilizing it, Eddie, is my interpretation and understanding, okay, currently, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. It's okay. I don't mind. Of utilizing what is known as UCC law in relation to a contract. Now, if there has to be 3 elements that are met with a contract, and let me say if I'm wrong in this, that's okay. You can correct me. But my interpretation has been, from what I know and what I've read, is that there's 3 elements to a contract. There has to be an offer, a presentment, a consideration, and then there has to be an acceptance. Those 3 elements would make a contract. So if I'm offering by giving you notice that I'm filing this liability and you will be held responsible for anything thereunto, and then they are considering it by taking it and going and filing it and then accepting it and giving me a copy back, I would consider without signature now that would be a fairly sufficient contract, at least having some legal standing. What would your take be on that, my brother?
That it's incorrect in every way possible. And here's why.
Okay.
Number one, there's already controlling case law, United States Supreme Court, licenses in the form of the driver's license and such are not contracts.
Okay.
For example, a perfect example, in fact, of exactly that. I own a piece of land. On that piece of land, I've got this nice little pond. In this pond, I've got some very nice fish. You come to me and ask for my permission, i.e., license from me to fish in my pond and to keep X number of fish for personal consumption, not for resale, not for market, but for personal consumption of you and your family. And I grant you that permission. Now, what benefit have I received from that exchange?
Something that was otherwise known as illegal to we the people.
No, that's not a benefit to me.
Well, I mean,
it was illegal for you to come on my land and fish in my pond and take my fish without my permission.
Right.
How does granting you permission not to commit that criminal act benefit me?
mm,
What
getting it.
benefit did you offer me
Oh,
to allow you to do that thing?
right.
We have an agreement, i.e., a contract, right?
Right.
But there is no mutual benefit exchange made here.
Right.
Now, at the same time, can I revoke that benefit and that license granted to you whenever the fuck I want to?
Well, not if it's not explicitly stated that you can't.
Why the fuck not? It's still my fish, it's still my pond, it's still my land, and you still have and
Okay.
require only my permission to access it. And if I revoke that permission for any reason I feel fit,
Oh, yeah. On your side, yeah.
okay. So is that a contract if I can do that?
Not necessarily, because it's not mutually.
No, it's not a contract at all if one party can unilaterally grant or revoke everything about it. That's not a contract.
right.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly the case of a driver's license.
One party
Okay.
contract is not.
Now, the sole exception to that regarding the license is when that license is used for the purpose of what?
Commerce.
Which in your case, the use would be for what? Your
Public-
livelihood, your occupation.
Mm,
Okay. I cannot revoke your ability to engage in a lawful occupation without some form of review of the basis for the revocation.
right.
But that is the only element of a contract that adheres to a driver's license. Period. Okay. The rest of it is absolutely non-existent. There is no mutual exchange between you and the government. The only benefit the government is receiving from you as the recipient of that license is the propagation of commerce. That's it. And the government is not a direct benefit of that. It's an ancillary benefit of that. Because the true benefit of commerce is the enrichment of the people and the economy the people rely on, right? Is that not a logical understanding and argument of the process?
Yeah, and totally is, Eddie. I mean, and plus you opened up a huge bombshell with this whole national thing. You realize if this is public, Cam, this is gonna, blow some
Hey,
things up a little bit.
I did not build
Not
the
you,
bomb,
buddy, not you,
and
not
I didn't
you, you know.
detonate the bomb. I'm
So
just pointing out
what
why the
of-
bomb shouldn't be there.
It goes back a little bit, and I don't want to derail from this beautiful conversation that's happening here, because you're absolutely right. This whole license, exactly as you just described it, but back at the whole national thing, there's obviously something good about the whole movement because everyone still shows up their American self, their patriot self-ish. You know what I'm saying? The Americans have showed up to a degree. What's good about this whole national movement? I mean, the wrong
Well,
word. But
Okay, let me
substance
give
form and
you
all that.
let me give you a relational example of what you're saying about there must be something good. When all this woke crap started and the LGBTQ parades of naked men and women running down Main Street and flaunting their private parts in front of children and everything else, I'm sure they saw it as a great benefit to themselves. But what the fuck's it doing to the rest of us? How's it affecting us?
I don't know.
That
I need more
small group of
specifics.
people that's doing it doesn't really care because they're getting what they think they deserve and want until it fucking blows up in their face. Okay. Which it's starting to. Well, that's the
How
same
so?
problem the people doing these things are going to have because society is not going to tolerate that kind of behavior for too much longer.
At all. They're not even doing it now. They're sick of it.
Okay.
Everybody's sick of it.
Mothers are up in arms. Yes.
Yeah,
Starting to become more accepted as far as I can tell.
Well, in some
deep down
places
inside,
they still are because that place is still under the control of the people that brought it to life in the first place. But once those people have been removed from that power and it no longer exists, those things will start to change. Just as society has always evolved when something like that has occurred.
So the conscientious national that thinks national first, that's came here thinking, hey, I'm an American state national, like from Anne of on rights and all
How
that
is
stuff.
that any different than the person that proclaims themselves to be binary
I don't know.
or a woman when they're not?
self-determined.
It's a
Well, I'm still
delusional,
American.
it's a delusional state of mind that you or I are not going to dissuade them from taking. They're going to have to reach that conclusion themselves or perish in their own experience in order to be devoid of it. And that's exactly the problem with these people following that state, national, and the other type of bullshit. You're never going to convince a person dead set on those ideals that they're wrong until it blows up in their face.
Blows up
Then-
how? Like what is the
Well,
give us a consequence of this?
a
Because we're all trying to
consequence.
see it.
You filed fraudulent documentation with the federal
Okay,
government
right, that
declaring
one.
that you are something you're not. That's a
Right.
fucking felony at the federal level.
Okay, so
Right.
I'm at this point ready just to hold up my hands and give up because I just built an entire case based on knowledge from 2 and 3 different people that now I am finding out that I may have committed perjury against myself or against the state. Because
welcome to the law.
What's
That's
that?
the best I can tell you. Welcome to the law, because that's the problem everybody going into a courtroom has, whether they realize it or not.
Unless we have your knowledge, unless we have your ability, or have
Well,
not been a
hold
conqueror,
on, guys.
study law.
Okay,
Have that, we're in trouble in going.
you're right. You're absolutely right. But let me tell you something. I started out at exactly the same place every one of you did. I have not been to law school. I've never been a lawyer. Now, I've worked for one as a paralegal, but I had to tell him how to do shit because he didn't know.
Was that's the same thing that I've heard from other people teaching me, and then I learned enough to get myself in trouble and abused and then punished.
Okay.
By this,
And I understand that because I've tried to help a lot of people that are in exactly that situation, that they've listened to the wrong people to start with. But here is where the problem falls on you for not doing your due diligence. Number one, what did I tell you about anything I told you during this meeting?
you've got to go do your research.
and not believe you.
Yes. Don't believe me, do your own.
That's right.
However,
That.
in order to do your own, there's something else you have to do first. And that is forget about and throw out every other fucking thing someone has tried to convince you is true. If you start on any level with the presumption that something you have been told is true, then your research will be engaged in one direction only, proving to yourself that it is true.
And represent and how you present it is important as well. Just as important. The words you
Yes, it is. Hey, that's how con men make a living, by the way they present information, regardless of whether or not it's true.
Can I interject here? I'd like to just interject. So we're all going into court over various things, and we are using the same language that we've learned being what we thought were nationals as it relates to just Americans. I mean, almost everyone here would just identify as American, member of the several states. I'm Georgian. I was born in Georgia, on the land. I'm Georgian. I know what that is. It's all lowercase. We're going into court saying we have our natural rights.
All right.
We're
When you say
basically
you were
just
born on the land, does that mean that your mom squatted in a field and the first thing you hit was the dirt? Were
that's
you born in a
privileged information, but-
hospital, a state-owned and run hospital, or a county-owned and run hospital, in one of their rooms, taken care of by their doctors and subjected to their paperwork and tests after birth? Which one were you actually there doing?
After the latter, the paperwork came after I was
So
born.
you were not born upon the land. You
I was
get what I'm
born on-
saying?
I was born on the Republic of Georgia, bro. I was
That's
born
a
on the Republic.
place.
Yeah, right.
That's
and
a place, but it
guaranteed my
it's
Republican form of
it's
government.
a
What a-
fictional place. You have to understand that. The state of Georgia is a 100% fictional place. It exists as the state of Georgia only on pieces of paper. Mother Earth doesn't give a shit what you call Georgia. Mother Earth doesn't give a shit what you call the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? Doesn't give a shit. Those boundaries and claims of what they are exist only because of things man-made.
Well,
Right.
no wonder the officers go, this has never been won in court as far as a lawsuit or defense. This is never a state national never wins. And so I go, well, these people tell, I'm thinking, well, all these people are telling me it does. And
Yeah, but here's the thing. You say these people have told you that it does. What evidence did you make these people provide to you that everything they're telling you was actually true?
Cam.
What court documents
showed
with
us.
actual, wait a minute, let me finish. What court documents with actual court stamps and actual signed court orders did any of them provide you copies of to show that what they're telling you was true?
well, can I answer that? Okay, because
I thought you were the one that I was asking.
okay. So when I went into court, I was tortured. I mean, tortured beyond just for standing up for my constitutional rights, beyond recognition, inhumane. Okay, so I finally go into court and I claim this. I did my affidavit of I can't even pronounce it. And did my documents. There's no contract between the state of Georgia and Terry Simpson. I don't have any of this. So I did 4 documents, and then went and challenged the court's jurisdiction. Everything that I was taught to do. I am not this vessel. I am the real man representing this. Everything that I did. They dropped all six of the original summons. But then I had to plead to aggravated assault against an officer in order for time served, because they arrested me twice. When I did all this, she charged me with contempt of court, and then arrested me the second time, stripped me down, sprayed me down with foreign substance, locked me up in the chambers. And then I go back in the court the second time. Well, then the judge chases me out of the courtroom and go, hey, look, I want to cut you a deal, so hopefully you don't come back and sue us. I can drop all.
Wait a minute. They actually said that?
Yeah, he actually did. The chief judge.
He actually said so that you don't come back and sue us?
Yes.
Or is that just what you're inferring by what he said or did?
No, the words came out of his mouth so we don't, you don't.
Oh, okay. Did he say it like it was a real possibility, or did he say it like he was making fun of you?
No, he was saying it as in he was whitewashing their actions and just kind of
So what we're discussing now is your perception of what he said and why he said it.
It's all perception. Even laws.
Long as we're clear on where we are with this, go ahead.
All case laws are opinions. So then he goes, if you'll plead to aggravated assault against the officer, time served, 4 days that you spent in jail, then I believe I can get the 6 original charges dropped. Well, he does.
Did you?
Yes.
How's that a fucking win?
That's not. But that when he drops the 6 charges, I took it as
you assume. That's what you were going to say, didn't you?
I was so beat up, I was ready to take anything.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of the way they do things, is to beat you up and make you quit.
And he did a well job. Intimidation works.
Yes, they do. But you know why they were able to beat you up so hard for so long?
Because of my lack of knowledge.
Yes. And the way you did things that had no basis in law and that held them accountable for what they did in return.
So what happened?
This is the problem with not knowing and following the procedures they're bound by.
Right.
Okay. Well, so
Hold on 1 second, Terry. So what I want to ask then is that a lot of the people too, well, I won't say a lot, but I do have people that come to me and they'll say, listen, we're just going to file an affidavit into the court rebutting these claims, and if it doesn't go unrebutted, then we're good to go and we can ignore it. What do you think?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. What is it that the people in this group think an affidavit does?
I don't know. I've never used an affidavit in that manner.
A statement of truth.
Well, you had to get the idea from somewhere. So somebody that has done it or thinks they understand what it's for and has done it, speak up. What is it you think and
Statement
believe?
of truth.
A statement of truth.
And that's
Yep.
what into the court.
I am Eddie. That's a statement of truth.
That's right.
So fucking what? How do you get that truth into the court?
I am not a
How
part.
is wait. Just play along here. I'm trying to get you
Terry.
to learn something.
Yeah,
okay?
calm down, Terry. You hype as hell right now, boy.
I'm asking questions. I'm asking questions and trying to use practical examples on how to get the answer to those questions. Okay. What does that proclamation of truth do for me?
So what they're saying is it's affidavits are an unrebutted and stand as law in
Whoa,
fact.
whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's only unrebutted till it's rebutted, right?
Right.
Okay. And if it is rebutted, now what does it do for you?
See?
I'm,
But if it doesn't, then what does it do for you?
I'm
The
ready.
other side too.
It's like a fucking double ringer in horseshoes. One guy gets a ringer, then you throw a ringer. What does that do?
Controversy.
It cancels each other out.
Okay.
If you throw a ringer in horseshoes and I come and throw a ringer on top of yours, they cancel out. So if you file an affidavit, it's only a statement of truth till someone says, no, it ain't. And it cancels it out.
But don't they have a time limit to do that?
According to who?
Well, according to the information, I don't have
Well, you got to
any
be. See, the only problem is when it comes to Eddie,
Well-
really anything, you got to be a little bit more specific. If you're gonna bring forth and say they got a time limit, you got to say there's a time limit according to this specific. You got to bring some source. You can't just
Everything regarding
Right.
time, everything regarding time in relation to court is done through the rules of procedure.
right.
There are time constraints placed on certain steps of the procedure, and they will vary in length depending upon what the step is.
Now, both in civil and criminal, though they do
That's
are
true
very
in
similar.
civil and criminal. However, an affidavit, it only is valid up until the actual trial is done with. If it remains unchallenged, then it becomes a part of the record as being accepted as true.
Okay.
And only after the trial is over will that be the case.
Right.
At any point prior to that, anybody can stand up and go, here's my affidavit saying that affidavit's bullshit. Or here is my testimony and my assertion verbally that that affidavit is bullshit.
And in regards to that, that's why we utilize disqualifications or stay of injunctive relief pending appeals or judicial reviews. No. Okay.
no.
Tell me now.
This is happening in real time. Therefore, what has to be done? In order to bring what is asserted in the original affidavit forward into evidence as actually being true or false, what must happen now?
Got me stumped on that one.
Yeah.
Rebuttal?
The person who signed the affidavit must take the stand and swear under oath
Okay.
to
Yep.
the facts asserted in the affidavit.
Yep.
So here's your problem. Unless it remains unchallenged all the way through final judgment at trial, an affidavit is fucking worthless. Because only when testimony in support of the affidavit is given will the facts of the affidavit be accepted as true or false in the record of the court. If it's challenged in any way, shape, or form, it's wrong until proven otherwise through testimony and evidence.
So Eddie, let me ask you, because I know a lot of guys are probably thinking the same thing right now. First of all, I want to start out with, and that is, what do you suggest to the general population who is trying to get free of this matrix and this control of this foreign government? I mean, as far as the District of Columbia, to how do we do this on a mass level without that you have?
If I'm understanding your question, and to paraphrase it succinctly, you want to know how to escape the jail cell they've locked you in and gain your freedom from the confines of said jail cell, right?
From birth until now.
Well, you can't do anything about from birth till now. You can only do and deal with now, because what's past is past, right?
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
so let's deal with the here and now. How do you get out of that jail cell? Well, my answer is very simple. You learn how to pick the fucking lock. And there's going to be a correct way to pick any given lock. And the same pick and method will not work on every kind of lock, because locks can be made to function differently, can't they? So first and foremost, you must learn the type of lock and what the lock and how the locking mechanism actually operates in order to be able to pick it.
Okay,
Right?
that's good. But people have 8-hour jobs and their life and the kids and everything else. So where do
I'm
we
sorry.
learn?
I learned all of this while I was sleeping. I didn't spend hours outside of my job not sleeping in order to gain the knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
I didn't average 4 hours of sleep a night for 20 fucking years to get where I am. I just went to bed and woke up the next morning refreshed, and all this sitting in my brain. You see the problem making that argument? So fucking what? Everybody's got a job and has to make a fucking living. But if they're going to take issues to court, they damn well better take the time and make the effort to learn how to do it. Okay? You're not going to get in the ring with Mike Tyson with no boxing training and not a single fucking boxing lesson and no skill set to speak of in the pugilistic form and say, I'm going to whoop your ass.
I wouldn't get in the ring with Mike Tyson, nor would I catch the grenade. But
well, you get my point. You're not going to do those things without proper knowledge and training and the know-how to put it into use, right?
Yeah, pick your fight.
And the training and conditioning to make it all work. Well, that doesn't come by accident, and it doesn't come by sitting on your ass or complaining about how little time you have to learn it. You either do it or you don't.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that.
I didn't say you were. I'm still talking in examples here.
Right.
And
yeah.
generalities, not specifically to you, but to the generality of this is the same shit I hear out of everybody. Okay. Oh, I have a job. So do I. Okay. Well, I don't have the time. Neither do I. But I chose to make it an issue. I chose to fight back. And because I chose to do it, I damn well better learn how to do it correctly. So I must make the time.
So stay in the system. I got you. Stay in the system until you master this and become completely
if you sit there in the jail cell trying to pick the lock and you are unsuccessful at picking the lock, you will stay in the jail cell, right?
That's obvious. Yeah.
Okay. So that's exactly the scenario you're talking about here and what you're trying to accomplish.
So that's why I'm 60 years old. And I'm just now trying to get out of jail, but it failed miserably.
Hey, I'm 4 months away from 61 myself. So what?
Yeah. So I just
was hold on, Terry. So what I'm gonna say is that if anybody else has some questions that they'd like to come on and ask, don't be shy. Come up and ask some that who haven't already come up. At least let's get some other people up here to ask some questions. Even if you don't know anything, it's okay. Maybe if you're coming in late, it's okay. Let's just try and get some other people because we've been on this bad boy for a while, and I don't care. I'll go all day. But at least I want to make sure to get to some other people because we still got 48 people in here, and a lot of y'all ain't talk. So please feel free to come on up and ask a question if you want to. Okay, you just unmute yourself now.
I got it. But let me make the point here real quick that I started in the exact same place each and every one of you had when you first began this. The difference is I had to learn what patience really and truly is. Because it took me 30 plus years to get to where I am now, where I can sit here and talk about this shit without having to think about it. I can tell you where to go find it without having to look it up myself. Because it is so ingrained in me at this point that I can recite it in my fucking sleep or at a moment's notice. I did not get there quickly and casually. It took real effort and real time to get to this point. And it's not going to be any different from you unless you have a photographic memory and genius recall. Okay? Just not. It's going to take time. It's going to take real effort and an attempt to understand exactly how everything fits together and works. You are trying to disassemble and reassemble a Swiss watch with a fucking screwdriver and a wooden mallet. Okay? You have to learn how to use the proper tools for the job. And until you do, you're going to keep breaking the fucking watch.
I got something to say that's pertinent to this topic here.
Okay.
Because what we want to do is we want to read actual code or law that the state or the city acknowledges and use the law against them that they're using against us, or using the code
My
against them.
cardinal rule of fighting in court: beat them black and blue with their own fucking rules. You muted yourself. You muted yourself. All right, start that again.
RCW 46.25.050 is the code for commercial driver's licenses and the classes, and who has to do what to operate a motor vehicle on the public roads, and exemptions, those who are exempt. And if you look at that and you go down to item C and then subset 11, it says that recreation, those that are exempt are those that use recreational vehicles and for travel purposes.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. And I will say, that's why I say I feel like Washington is really good, because when I've been going through everything with Louise, what we've ended up coming to find is that almost every single county and city in Washington, in and of itself, has county road defined as any public way, street, drive, avenue, alley, highway. You know, they name it all. And literally it says verbatim, open as a matter of right for public vehicular travel. That right there is enough. We don't need to argue about anything else, because it's not the statute that's being applied to us necessarily. I mean, it is on the prosecutor side. But the cops, what we can find there is that if these cops work for the city and your own city ordinance states that it's my right to do such, how do you not even know that in and of itself? You're supposed to be enforcing these ordinances and shit right here. This is like what you're supposed to know. How do you not know that, right? So I feel like just by going in on that local level, since the local police are the ones pulling us over and harassing us and violating our rights in the first place, why not just use their own language to go against them? You see what I'm saying?
Everybody check the chat. I put another document in there, and that document contains statutes specific to the state of Washington. Okay. Now, have you guys ever heard of Lewis Ewing?
Yes, I just I may have just talked to Lewis.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, maybe not. No, it wasn't Lewis. Okay, then someone
Lewis is a completely narcissistic, self-important asshole.
I think
okay, he's not completely incorrect in a lot of the things he says and does, but he tends to take credit for shit that he didn't actually do. And one of the things that he did was create a flyer that's got the information in it that's in this document. Problem is, this document predates his flyer. Okay. So, needless to say,
his name came up somewhere. I can't remember where.
He did not get the information on his own. And I found out that that's true of a lot of people and things.
Well, yeah.
There was this idiot on Facebook that tried to take my transportation script and rewrite it in a way that was getting people fucking seriously injured and taken to jail. And that's why I put that watermark in the document and printed it out in a protected PDF so it couldn't be changed.
Yeah, that's the one I'll be sharing. That's the one.
That document, if you're looking at a copy of that document that doesn't have that fucking watermark, then somebody's changed it. And you don't need to be following what it says till you can verify that it matches the original.
Damn low.
Trent Goodbody was the idiot that did that. So if you know who that is, avoid that dumb shit for all you're worth.
Now, right there,
he's also one of these people selling license plates to people that you don't, and he's charging you $50 to $100 a pop for a fucking license plate you can order for $7 off of fucking Amazon.
See, that's the thing we done did over here that's pretty good, Eddie. We ain't really charging nothing. The only thing I'm charging on is in relation to my book.
Well,
The
here's
book,
the
you know.
thing. Right.
Well,
Here's the
wait,
thing
hold a
about,
sec. Hold a sec. Let me
about not
promote my
charging for this information.
wait, hold
When you-
on, man. Wait, hold on. Can I promote my book for a second? So yeah, if y'all don't know, I wrote a book, y'all, releasing in November. In November, it's called Last Tread. You'll have to find it on my YouTube or something though, but maybe I'll post a link. It's pretty cool. Okay, go, Eddie. Sorry.
All right. I mean, I've got the seminar material that I wrote umpteen years ago, where there's a book in it, and there's, like I say, there's 400 plus legal pleadings and everything about how you fight a traffic case in Texas and what you say and why you say it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've had all that stuff out for years, and it's what I'm trying to make a new version of now.
Okay.
The only thing I'm trying to decide is whether or not I want to do it as a video course instead of a written course. Because at least with a video course, I can get it cranked out a lot faster than I can having to write different pieces of it at different times and then the shit changing midstream.
Yeah.
But in any case, my point is that when you spent as much time trying to gather this information and digest this information and put it into a form that's usable by others, you do not want to give that shit away for free, because it eats up a lot of your fucking life.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it to understand it and do it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, my shit's not free, and there's good reason for that. And anybody that thinks I ought to give it away for free ought to put themselves in my shoes with the time and effort I've expended on it, and then see if you still come to the same conclusion.
No, I get it.
That giving away free info is not a good thing, and I do give out free parts of it on a regular basis. Like, for instance, the motion to fight a speeding charge in Texas, I give that away for free because it's the most prolific type of case we have in Texas is speeding. So I wrote up the motion for that, and I gave it away completely free. It's why every argument that's in that motion is posted in the articles on my legal blog.
Man, you ain't got to defend yourself in relation to talk about what's free, man.
I'm just trying to make a point over free things versus things that people pay for.
No,
here's the one major problem with free shit.